And now it's my pleasure to introduce my friend, Bill Obendorf. Bill Obendorf is the executive chairman of Obendorf Enterprises. He is also a man who is making significant inroads in improving the city of San Francisco. He is the leader of Neighbors for a Better San Francisco. He, along with Hamid, Arthur Patterson, Steve Merrill, and so many others, are gathering leaders, civic leaders of our city to try and get San Francisco back on track and lead our way forward to the glory that we know is within our grasp. Bill is an example how an individual, through the force of his own will, can make common good. Please welcome my friend Bill Obendorf.
Thank you, Alex. It is truly a great pleasure and privilege to be able to talk about my friend, Hamid Moghadam, tonight. Hamid and I have known each other for over 40 years. The very first time I remember meeting Hamid was when Bob Burke, Doug Abbey, and Hamid came to my office to talk about their plans for AMB. It has been quite a journey from then until now, Hamid, but even at that very first meeting, it was clear that Bob, Doug, and Hamid were onto something, and what that something has become. Hamid, you have always possessed drive, intellect, and vision. Moreover, at every step, you've demonstrated the clarity of thinking that only great leaders possess. Your unrelenting focus and commitment to excellence in everything you do is so abundantly clear. How fortunate we have been living in a time when an immigrant who fought prejudices could strike out on his own and build a company like Prologis. How fortunate we are that you wanted to build that company in California, and more specifically, the Bay Area. Let us hope your example will give others the courage and tenacity to build great businesses here going forward. For it is great businesses like Prologis that will drive the future of San Francisco and the Bay Area. Hamid, along with Tina, have also been generous contributors to countless institutions and causes that have benefited our community. Their philanthropy has touched many lives and institutions, including Stanford, UCSF, the Asian Art Museum, and the California Academy of Sciences, to name a few. Most recently, to bring about reforms in San Francisco, Hamid has immersed himself in this effort by deeply involving himself in Neighbors for a Better San Francisco and Together SF. Beyond these endeavors, Hamid is also as loyal a friend as anyone could have. I remember so distinctly when I was about to have an operation, Hamid was the first call I got to see how it went. When I answered the phone, he said, "You sound remarkably well," and I had to tell him the operation had not yet begun. And then there was the financial crisis of 2008 to 9, when we all spent time together hoping for a better day. There was also the time when my young business partner, Bill Patterson, passed away. Again, Hamid was there to provide his support. These are simply the kind of things one does not forget, and have served as a constant reminder that you could not have a better or loyal friend than Hamid Moghadam. I could expound for a long time, but suffice it to say, Hamid, you are greatly deserving of this honor tonight, and Susan and I feel so fortunate to have you and Tina in our lives. We thank you for all you have done thus far, and we look forward to all the good things that are yet to come.
Every day, millions of businesses and consumers worldwide rely on a vast and highly connected distribution network to buy and sell the goods and products that fuel our economy. From life-saving medicines, iPhones, and baby formula, to food and vertical farms. And without the company that Hamid Moghadam co-founded in San Francisco in 1983, major parts of that network would come to a screeching halt. Born in Iran, the only son of an entrepreneur who worked extensively in real estate development, Moghadam grew up visiting his father's building sites and marveling at the sights, sounds, and smells of construction. He later attended MIT, earning bachelor's and master's degrees in engineering. But the Iranian Revolution dashed his plans for returning to his home country and taking over the family business.
I had a decision to make, which is to go back to Iran with a lot of uncertainty, or to stay in the U.S. and complete another degree.
So he traveled west to Stanford University to get his MBA, before making San Francisco his home. Armed with a naturally keen strategic business mind, an uncanny instinct to see opportunity where others see only danger, and a laser-like ability to focus, Moghadam and two partners, Doug Abbey and Bob Burke, launched AMB Property Corporation in 1983, investing in office and industrial buildings and neighborhood shopping centers. With the emergence in the 1990s of the internet and its potential to globalize commerce, a visionary Moghadam saw opportunity, jettisoned retail properties, and went all in on logistics real estate. He later orchestrated the merger of AMB with Prologis, where he would continue to grow the company into one of the world's preeminent logistics real estate companies, with an estimated 3% of global GDP flowing through the facilities it owns, builds, and leases. Today, Prologis is the 68th largest company in the S&P 500 and the most valuable real estate company in the world. Its more than 5,500 warehouses, distribution facilities, and fulfillment centers span more than 1.2 billion square feet in 19 countries across 4 continents. And the company's 6,700 customers include some of the world's most valuable brands: Amazon, Home Depot, Pepsi, and FedEx, as well as small and medium-sized companies that help fuel local economies. The Harvard Business Review has named Moghadam one of its top 100 best-performing CEOs in the world 3 times. In addition, he is a recipient of the Ellis Island Medal of Honor and the overall U.S. winner of the EY Entrepreneur of the Year Award. Along the way, Moghadam has been an industry pioneer in governance and environmental sustainability. The solar panels topping many of its buildings make Prologis the second largest producer of solar energy in the U.S., and it was the first company in the real estate industry to release an annual sustainability report. Today, Prologis is also helping its customers transition to renewable clean energy with a growing EV charging business. All the while, Moghadam never forgot his Iranian roots and the Stanford education that helped launch him. He and his wife Christina, also a Stanford graduate, have endowed the university's Iranian Studies program and its business school, where he serves as an advisor. In addition to financial support, Moghadam has generously given his time at Stanford. He is a trustee emeritus and currently serves on the boards of Stanford Management Company and Stanford Healthcare. He and Christina are also major supporters of the Asian Art Museum of San Francisco. Moghadam's philanthropy extends to many civic and nonprofit organizations, including the Bay Area Council, California Academy of Sciences, the Discovery Museum, Town School for Boys, and the Young Presidents Organization. And he's working to strengthen San Francisco's economy by supporting groups such as Neighbors for a Better San Francisco and Together SF. Meanwhile, it should come as no surprise that Moghadam is focused on the promising world of artificial intelligence and its potential to transform his industry and better serve his customers. After all, where some see danger, Moghadam sees opportunity.
Sometimes in the darkest days, the biggest opportunities are there. You just have to have your eyes open to see them.
Please welcome Hamid Moghadam. And to engage Hamid in a brief conversation is Janet Liang, who is the Executive Vice President and Group President of Kaiser Permanente. Janet? Greetings.
Oh, Hamid, it's been wonderful to hear about your history here in the Bay Area. We're lucky and fortunate that you found San Francisco to be your home. You know, when Bill was telling the story of your early start, I don't think he mentioned that you were 26 years old at that time with no money, no business, and you were able to get a line of credit with your co-founders, and that began the journey of a MB, and 40 years later, a huge success. You are, I don't think people often associate the term entrepreneur with you. So we're so excited that you are part of this startup economy here in the Bay Area. And today you are in a rarefied circle with a market cap that puts you in with Visa and Salesforce. So congratulations, you are an inspiration. Okay, so in 40 years, I'm going to guess that you've got some leadership lessons that you might want to impart on us. So what would you like to share with leaders here today, given the kind of challenges of today's economy and outlook globally, as well as here in the U.S.?
So Janet, thank you for asking that question. But before I answer it, I want to first of all thank Bill. I only found out that Bill was introducing me this morning. And I don't know who you've been talking to, but I'll tell you the truth a little bit later. And I also want to acknowledge Doug Abbey, one of my original partner, actually, who's in the audience, and also many of our board members and colleagues today that make Prologis what it is. And most importantly, I want to acknowledge Tina, who actually, without her support, none of this would have happened for me. So, but thank you. But to answer your question, I think I'm a big believer in keep it simple. People make things, in my opinion, too complicated. We've really focused on three things at Prologis over the years. We focused on the customer, which sounds really trivial and obvious. But in real estate companies, nobody focuses on the customer. They all focus about the next deal. And if you really want to build a business as opposed to a series of assets, you've got to focus on the customer. And that allows you to extend your business in many dimensions that are unconventional. The second thing we've focused on is embracing change. And a lot of that has to do with the innovative culture that we built around the company. And of course, we've benefited from being in Silicon Valley or near Silicon Valley and exposed to so many new ideas and things. And the third thing, and I think the most important, is a real focus on building an organizational culture that attracts the right people, retains the right people, and maybe even repels the wrong people that don't fit that culture. So I think culture is the only form of sustainable competitive advantage. Doesn't show up on an analyst report, doesn't show up in a spreadsheet, but I think that's the difference between companies that do well and others.
That is terrific. I hope you're all taking notes out there, because that's my team out here, Kaiser. That is fantastic. So culture, customer, and change, agility. So speaking of that, you know, where are you taking your company? What bets are you placing right now as you think about the outlook?
Well, you know, we're in the good position of, as you heard, about 3% of the world trade goes through our facilities. And because of that scale, we have access to a lot of data that can help our customers. So I think taking these four walls and a roof and then powering them with other things is the real opportunity. Of course, we're going to grow our real estate business. We've grown it from a base of 0 to this scale, and that will continue. And that's the foundation of the business. But really, we're building a very robust energy business on top of that, a mobility business, a private capital investing business for institutional investors, and many, many other things. And the list changes almost every year, every other year, because the world doesn't stop just because you've reached a certain level. I honestly don't think that much about competitors in a traditional sense. I think about the competitors who are two people that you've never heard of before in a garage waiting to eat our lunch. So that's where I really want to push the company to always be hungry and always. One of the best speeches I ever heard was Steve Jobs at that famous Stanford graduation. I think it was 2005. And I couldn't have said it any better. I mean, he really described my philosophy really well.
That's really great. That sort of hunger, that drive that you just talked about has been through all of the various articles that I've seen written about you and interviews you've done. And when I was thinking about talking to you, one of the titles of an article that popped up really piqued my interest, and it said to keep your rejection letters. Keep your rejection letters. So tell me the story behind that.
Well, I'll give you the short version of the story, but when I was graduating from GSB at Stanford, it was 1980, and I started my interviews for a permanent job in 1979, which was about a week or two after the American hostages were held in Iran. And of course, people really didn't understand the difference at that time between Iranians who were here because they despised the regime as opposed to the ones that were there making trouble. So I don't know if it was because of that, or maybe I wasn't educated enough. I don't know, but
wait! A bachelor's and master's in engineering from MIT, plus a master's in business administration from Stanford. Okay, now we'll go on.
Degrees are overrated, but seriously, I mean, I really had to find the job because I had no financial resources. And I didn't have the ability to stay in this country. So without a job, I couldn't have a green card, I couldn't become a citizen. And so it was more than just the next opportunity. And some of you, I think, a few of you remember 1980, 22% prime rate, inflation was 14%, unemployment rate was 11%. They had this thing called the misery index, which was the sum total of inflation and interest rates. Anyway, inflation and unemployment rate. It was a bad time to start with, but my unique qualifications made it even a little bit more difficult. So I actually managed to get more rejections than interviews, which I think that record still stands. And I'm very proud of it, actually.
Yeah, 30 rejections. That's pretty.
More than that.
I can't even believe it.
Yeah. I got a file full of them.
That's incredible. But it speaks to how humble you've been and you continue to be, even with all of your success. It's something that is very admirable in your leadership, and it must be incredibly motivating to the Prologis team that's here today, that's celebrating tonight with you. So we talked.
Can I say something about that? I think there is a level of hard work and ambition and just stick-to-itness that are important ingredients for being successful in business. But let's not forget the role of luck. And by luck, I don't mean just being lucky in business, but lucky to run into partners like Doug early on in my career, working together with them. Or Bob Burke, who actually started out as being a client and ended up joining us a year later. Or my colleague Gary Anderson, who I didn't even meet until we did the merger with Prologis, and many, many other examples that I can cite. Those are all lucky things, and sometimes we look back and think that it's because of our brilliance or whatever. There are a lot of brilliant people in the world, but if they're not exposed to those elements of luck, or they don't act on those openings, which is also a case, I don't think they punch to their potential.
Yeah, well, you definitely have a bias for action. That is clear in your leadership and in your commitment to community. You are an incredible role model for your civic leadership with you and Tina together and what you've been doing. And we heard earlier of many of the many things, but I personally want to thank you for getting involved in healthcare and your leadership at Stanford Healthcare. So.
Well, thank you. And I also should have started by saying, Mary, congratulations. It's great that the two of us were on the board together for many years, and it's really a privilege to be sharing this with you.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, any encouragement you want to provide other corporate leaders here or civic leaders around the need to get involved?
I really think the voice of business has been absent in San Francisco because we've taken the success of this region for granted, and we've perfected the art of saying no because there was so much that was trying to come into this region, create jobs, hire people, that the last thing we thought about is being aggressive about attracting business and keeping businesses around here. We could just fold our arms and let the businesses come or leave as they wish. I don't think we have that luxury anymore. And but I need all of you guys in the business community to stick your necks out and help one another so that our elected leaders and policymakers really hear us. I think the populace, the voting populace, is so ready for it. I mean, I hear it in every person I talk to, small business people, people just in the neighborhoods and all that. I think this is the time, and we have a huge opportunity coming up in 2024, and that's the time to really, this is not the time to be shy or patient or quiet about this. I think we need to get after it.
Great, that's great encouragement. Thank you. Thank you so much. So we're gonna end with a rapid fire, since we talked a little bit about luck and wisdom and bias for action, a little bit of predictions here. I'm gonna ask Hamid three predictions that you have. So you're bullish or you're bearish. So first, San Francisco is the best place to live.
I think San Francisco was and will be the best place to live. And actually, whether I'm optimistic or pessimistic really depends on how many people in this room and other rooms like this we can get to really focus in the next 12 months.
Awesome. Okay, great. Bullish. I take that as bullish. All right, let's see. AI, generative AI, AI for good. Bullish, bearish?
It's kind of like asking, is the telephone bullish or bearish? Is the internet bullish or bearish? Depends what you do with it. If you make crank calls, it's bearish. But if you use it to communicate with people, I think it's another tool. It's a very powerful tool. By the way, it is not new. Freshman year in 1973, Cambridge, Massachusetts, I was taking a course in artificial intelligence. Obviously, we didn't have the computational power and the ability to scan so much data and all that, but artificial intelligence has been around for a long time. I think the large language models got everybody sort of the man on the street or the woman on the street kind of involved with AI. But I think it's been around for a long time, and it's about to do a hockey stick, and I think ignore it at your own peril. And does it have dangers? Of course. Everything has dangers, but I don't think we can overlook its potentials. And I'm hoping we get the risky part of it under control.
Yeah. Last one, 49ers, Super Bowl 58 champs, bullish or bearish?
I'm very bullish, and I thought that was the worst call ever in a football game that I've seen. You throw out the head of security? I mean, the guy looked like he could be a linebacker or something, but I don't think it hurt him at all. So, sorry about those Eagles fans in the audience.
Hamid, it's been an honor just to spend this time with you, and thank you again for all you've done for Stanford.